So thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate all of the work and effort that each one of you have given to the nursery over the years. Some of you have been doing it a long time, and I see from some of the younger faces, some of you are looking forward to doing it soon. And so we're very glad that all of you are here. And we're going to take you through a couple slides. There's some things that have happened. As you can see, there's been renovations to the nursery. We've also rewritten the guidelines. And there's a lot of things that we wanted to discuss with you to get you updated on some things that maybe this will be a review for most of you, what you're already doing and what we're already expecting as guidelines, but also there'll be some new things that we're trying to institute. So we're going to take you through some of those things. First of all, why are we doing this? What is our purpose? It's always good to remind ourselves that everything that we do is for the glory of God and for the benefit of the parents and the benefit of the children, for the benefit of the church and worship. How many of you who have children find it very difficult to worship when your children are in the nursery and you're wondering about them? Are they okay? If you hear a baby crying, was that my kid that was crying? We had one in particular of our 4 that was always crying. So if we ever heard a crying baby in the nursery, we kind of knew which one it was. And I will disclaim which one that was. I'm sworn to secrecy. But if we're doing a good job in the nursery and we're taking really good care of these children, it really does help the parents a lot. And they know that they're being taken care of. So even if the child is unruly, even if the child's having a difficulty with a separation, they know that they're in good hands because of the work that we do. So it's a good work that we can do. And it really is our ministry, and it's our service to the Lord. It's something that we have been given by God to do, to honor Him, to serve the church, to serve the parents, to serve the children. So it's a good work. And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of those things that we're going to do that helps us do this good work. All right, Sherry, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Before I cover the information on this slide, I just want to mention there are hard copies of the current schedule and the policies and procedures and the nursery workers agreement on the podium at the front up here. So if any of you need a hard copy, they are here. I did check the church website today, and the current, or hopefully the most current nursery schedule is on there, the one that runs through October, I believe it is. If you are a late addition to that schedule, your name may not be on there yet, but we hope that most of them are. First of all, the nursery now, first change is that it goes up to age 4 instead of up to age 3. 4th birthday, they're graduating, they are booted out, however you want to politely name that. But we do allow them to stay in the nursery up until their 4th birthday now instead of the 3rd. That especially helps visiting families whose children are not used to sitting in services and have not been slowly worked into the service, so it would help them by keeping them in the nursery up to age 4. Nursery workers must be approved by the nursery supervisors. They'll be listed on an upcoming slide, and the nursery deacon. To be a worker, you must be a member of the church, a member in transition or becoming a member of the church in the application process, or a child of a member. Children of members have to be at least 11 years old to serve in the nursery. If they are 11 or 12, they need to be serving in the same service and in the same room with the parent that they are serving under, so that the parent is not only supervising the children in the nursery, but also making sure that their child, in training them to become a good worker, is being supervised and training them how to handle the children. So they must serve with their parent in the same room. Once they are 13, they may be on the schedule independent of their parents. They will have to have served at least 6 months under their parents. So if they just decide when they're 13 or 14 that they want to work in the nursery, they need to serve under a parent for a few months until they actually go on the schedule on their own. And again, they serve with the permission, the approval of the supervisors and the nursery deacon. And the last thing on this statement is all must sign the nursery workers agreement statement, which are up there, and it simply says, I have read the nursery policies and procedures and agree to follow them to the best of my ability. And we have those here. If you have already read the copy that Jack emailed to everyone that was attached in one of the announcements that came out, if you have read that, you're welcome to fill that out and leave it tonight. If not, they will be on the table outside of the nursery, and you can pick them up at any time and sign it and turn it in. Let me go over a few more things before we go to the room structure. I wanted to give you just a quick rundown of nursery worker responsibilities. Some of these things will be covered in more detail in upcoming slides. Andrea will be covering some specific information, and I will on some others. But this is just a quick list of things that you need to know. Most of them you already know. One thing that the supervisors request is that if you trade with another worker, you are out of town, have a sick child or sick yourself, can't be there, we ask that you make an equal trade. Lady for lady, man for man. I understand, if you can't do that. In an emergency situation, you shoot that GRBC talk out there and you get a response. If we get a man, the supervisor's going to deal with it. If the man switching with a lady, the supervisor will work it out. But it's easier on the supervisors if it's an equal trade, especially a teen for a teen or a child for a child. The only issue with men and women switching is that we try to have at least one woman in each of the rooms that we are divided up into, and sometimes we have ended up with 4 men in there who are great with the kids, but it's just the preference to have a lady in each room. Arriving early is important, washing hands, all these will be covered in more detail in a few moments. One of the main changes is that with the new nursery that we have, our beautiful nursery, we are now having the children handed over the half Dutch doors into the rooms, in the toddler and crawler room in particular, so the parents are no longer entering those rooms. That means for the workers, you need to be waiting at the door to take the child when they come to the door. By the time they get to the door, they should have a pager, they should have signed their child in at the table. So you need to be ready at the door. It defeats the purpose of saying we're not allowing parents in if there's no one standing at the door to take the child when they come to the door. So especially at a few minutes before the service and right at the end of the service, we need to make sure that in the toddler room in particular and the crawler room, that there are workers waiting to take the children as they're handed in. Little things that we'll need to check as we're making changes. First of all, on the infant side, if you are on the infant side, it might be a good idea to put one sheet, a pack and play on at least, a sheet on at least one pack and play. That facilitates a sleeping baby carried in. The mother can't struggle to put on a sheet at the same time she's holding the baby. Make sure that you check the diapers at some point during the service. If it doesn't need changing, that's fine, but the parents need to know that the child's diaper was checked at some time during the service. Give a snack or drink if it's needed, or if it's requested. Of course, you're going to go by the list, that's there. But it's fine to give snacks. Someone had that question in the past. Can we give snacks in the nursery? Yes, you can give snacks in the nursery appropriately. Again, there will be more information on that shortly. If parents need to be called, the pager unit, home unit, is in the infant side, so you would just tell the worker on the infant side the pager number that is on your sign-in sheet. They can page the parent. At the end of the service, this is another change, and most of you have already done this because most of you have served since we have implemented our new procedures. When the piano begins to play at the end of the service, the bags, which at the moment are all in the toddler room, need to be placed in the hallway for the parents to pick them up. So again, that's something the workers need to be aware of. It gets quiet, you hear them praying at the end of the service, you hear the piano playing at the end of the service. one or two of the workers in the toddler room need to go ahead, as soon as they hear that, you automatically start cleaning up, that kind of thing, but you need to make sure that the bags are lined up in the hall. And again, this is the time to be ready, standing at the door to deliver the children. When they come to the door, they should have already turned in their pagers before they come. You will wash any of the small toys, empty the trash, sweep, vacuum, whatever is necessary, and that will be divided up task for you. And workers should only leave after the worker in charge, the person that we have assigned or has volunteered to be the worker in charge for that session has said, yes, everything's done, you may go. Okay. Supervision, Alice, myself, Sarah, and Amy are the supervisors. We rotate on a monthly basis. This month is Alice. Who is next? I think it's Amy. Anyway, that also will be posted on the bulletin board that will be put on the hallway. It's not up on since we have done the renovations. And Jack, of course, is the deacon. Shift leaders is one thing that has not been used, even though in the past, those who have been here for a long time were aware that there used to be a bold print name in each slot, and that would be the shift leader. They were the person in charge once the nursery supervisor leaves to go into the service. Those shift leaders would have a little more responsibility. It's not overwhelming, but you are the person who is responsible for making sure that workers are allocated to the appropriate rooms. You get 2 or 3 kids that come in 15 minutes late, you know, and maybe you need an extra worker pulled out of one room and put in another. The shift leader makes that decision. You have extra workers and not enough children. The shift leader makes a decision for a worker to, okay, you may go into the service. We don't have to have you today. We'll call on you another time. They would be the go-to person for any questions, adjust worker placement. They would be the point person for emergency situations. We'll cover that in a little bit. And they would oversee the cleanup at the end of the service. It doesn't mean they do all the cleanup. It means that they make sure that it's done. They just remind the person, we need the trash collected from each room. We need the toys washed. We need the little dust mop run over, all the toys put away, the vacuum if it's a rug. They just make sure that someone is assigned to do that. And before any worker leaves, they should let that shift leader know. She should say, yes, you're free to go. You know, everything's been done and taken care of at this point. We have one more. Next.
No, we do have
No,
one more.
that's me,
Sorry.
one more. Most of you also are familiar with our structure now. We have beautiful rooms. They're so inviting for the children to play in. This is a picture of the crawlers room. So we start with the infant room. Well, actually, we should start with the nursing mother's room, which is only, of course, for nursing mothers. Then we have the infant room, and attached to that is the sleeping babies room, which was the nursing mother's room. It is only for sleeping babies. We want to make sure that it's quiet in there for that reason. The crawler room is, as you see here, once they start crawling, they are in this room until they are very steady on their feet. Parents' choice as to which room they go into, okay? The parent's the one who knows if their child is strong enough, steady enough to handle a 3-year-old, potentially bowling them over in the toddler room, as opposed to keeping them in the safer crawler room until they're a little more steady on the feet, but it is the parent's choice. Toddler room is from walking steadily up until their 4th birthday. On Wednesday nights, protocol is the same as it has always been, okay? If you work Wednesday nights, you're all gonna be in that toddler room adjoining the infant room there. The parents are gonna come in and sign in as they always had in the past. There won't be a worker there to take them in. Also, Sunday school, we may not use all of these rooms because there's a 2-year-old Sunday school class and a 3-year-old Sunday school class. We don't need all of these rooms at that time. So what has happened most often is that we just use the toddler's room during Sunday school and the attached infant room. So the workers would be able to use just those 2 rooms at that time. Again, separate rooms are used at workers' discretion and as needed. You know, if you have extra kids come in and you need to pull crawlers out and you have the workers to do that, you may. Fewer children in the nursery may make 2 rooms impractical. We do request that there be 2 workers in any room if possible. I know there are exceptions. There may be 1 worker in the crawler room with 1 or 2 children. It may be necessary at a time, but our goal is to have 2 workers, at least 2 workers in any room at a time.
Okay, so as the nursery deacon, I get to be the enforcer. And you know how mean I can get when things aren't going right. But this is my slide. A couple things that I wanted to bring, and I'm sorry for some of you over there, the words are hard to read, so I'll kind of fill you in on what it is. How early should you be for each service that you're serving in the nursery? 15 minutes. 15 minutes is the latest you can get there. You may get there earlier than that. 20 minutes early is okay. No one will fault you for that. But please don't be later than 15 minutes beforehand. Because remember, our objective is to help parents feel comfortable. It may take them a while to get the kids situated. There may be some parting anxieties that the children have. And the parents may want to get into the worship service early enough that they can prepare their hearts as well. So they may be there 15 minutes early. Let's be in place. They don't want to arrive to a nursery that's disorganized and people running around, or you coming in after they come in. Now they're uncomfortable with the situation. And also, always keep in mind visitors. We do a lot of the things that we do to make the visitors comfortable with our nursery. So let's be there, be prepared, ready to go 15 minutes before any one of the services begin. We're going to be doing something that's just completely monumental for Grace Reformed Baptist Church. We are going to offer to parents on Sunday mornings to keep their children in the nursery from the beginning of Sunday school all the way through the morning worship service, if they would like. Okay? Some parents may or may not take advantage of that, but we thought that it might be easier in the long run if we just keep the kids in the, especially again for children that are having anxiety issues, for them to have to go through that 2 times a day and 3 times a day if there's 3 services that they're attending is difficult. So we're going to make that. So here's how we're going to do that. Those of the nursery workers who are serving for Sunday school, we're going to ask you to remain 10 minutes longer, maybe 15 minutes longer than you used to remain. Okay, so we're adding to your time a little bit. But we thought the morning worship and the evening worship, they typically serve for an hour and a half. Sunday school workers is usually less than that. So that kind of gets them up to serving the same amount of time. So we will transition our nursery workers from Sunday school to the morning worship service, but the babies will remain for the most part. Okay? If parents want to take their children, that is their choice. So that's fine. So we're just going to let parents do that. Little by little, I think they're going to get a little more comfortable with us. What that probably means also is that we will likely feed the children in the morning worship service early on. So after the morning worship service begins, after the kids get settled in, we may choose to feed them at that time. And that way, again, the parents won't have to be concerned about feeding the children in between the 2 services. So that's something new for us. It's not all that new for other churches, but it's something we have not done before, so we're going to give it a shot, see how it goes. And we're going to begin that the Sunday after Labor Day, so 2 Sundays from today. We're going to start doing that. So Sunday school nursery workers and morning worship nursery workers, be conscious of that. Please, morning worship workers, come early, relieve those people that are working the Sunday school, so they won't be nervous about having to stay there longer. Then the other thing with that is there is some transition issues that we're going to have to deal with, because many of the moms who are or the families who are serving in the nursery have to go get the kids out of Sunday school, that type of thing. We'll work with everybody as best we possibly can. So be willing to work with families that need to get kids out of Sunday school and bring them in the nursery and that type of thing, okay? Schedules, how has Thursday evening or Thursday email notifications been? For people who have served in the nursery, does that help? I lean heavily on it, probably heavily, much more heavily than I should lean on it, but I'm looking for that reminder on Thursday. So please be looking at that reminder to serve in which one of the services you're serving for. We'll also post this online so that the schedule will be posted online as well. And we also have copies made up. They're still a little bit in transition because there's more people coming in to work in the nursery than we've had before, which we appreciate greatly. So we'll get those nursery lists out to you and make sure everybody has a copy that wants a hard copy, as well as having a soft copy, okay? Let's see, Andrea.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about sign up and pick up. We started the new sign-in process where we're only using one hallway, as all of you guys have seen. We're going to continue with that. There might be a possibility that we'll open up the hallway to exit at some point, but we want everybody to, at this point, exit and enter from that far hallway in through the double doors. You'll see that we changed it from a table to like a smaller like buffet type table this week, the past few weeks. And that will have the pager. The parent needs to go sign in at that pager station. Sometimes the whole goal would be that one of the nursery supervisors will be standing there to help facilitate that. They'll sign in, make sure their child is where they need them to be, put any special instructions that they have, and then they'll head to the doors and hand over their child, as Sherry was telling us. If you have any injuries, back problems, knee problems, anything like that, feel free to open the door and the kid can walk in. I don't want you to feel like the only way you can do it is by over the Dutch door, but we're trying to keep it so that the parent doesn't come in with them. So just make sure that there's some worker standing there to receive the child on both the crawler and the infant or the toddler side. The infant side is a little bit different because a lot of the parents have the carriers for their child. The parent's allowed into that room to put the carrier in, take the child out, maybe put them in a bouncy seat on the floor, and hand them to a worker, that kind of thing. So that room's the only one that's a little bit different. A parent might be going in and putting the child to sleep. That's perfectly fine. The parent's going to have a lot more probably luck getting the kid to sleep and stay to sleep if they want to do it. So that'll be a little bit different. We have tags on all the all the bags of all of our members. Those say, it says Grace Kids and it has their name on it. The whole goal is that when you receive the child in the diaper bags, that you put the diaper bag up with that tag facing out so that everybody would know where the bag was. We're asking parents to label sippy cups, Sharpie on the bottom. It's not going to hurt the cup, and it could be a permanent cup to use for church. If you're fine with it, we can Sharpie it them, or you can use masking tape that we have at the table. It just makes it easier so that not all the germs are shared. So we can try to do that a little bit more. And as you can tell, even tonight I was in there, and not everything is completely done, so it's going to be a work in progress over the next few months. So I'm just going to go just pick up, like Sherry said. One worker needs to line up all the bags, like she said, and then you're going to be there to hand over the kids. It's very helpful to sometimes have two workers, one sometimes on the outside of the door and the other one on the inside. That's what we did tonight, and it worked really smoothly that way because they could see the parent that was already coming down the hall, and we could already have the kids ready. So I would say if you have enough workers and the ability is there, then do that. A lot of times that shift leader that will eventually be in place will be the one to help kind of coordinate who, say, hey, can you two go and start doing the bags? Can you guys start cleaning up, kind of thing? And just be conscious of who that person is and just try to be as helpful as you can to that person. And please make sure you don't leave until they cleared you to leave, just because it's going to be a lot of work for them or the supervisor if we don't help out. And it will take a lot less time if all of us join together and do it. The other thing that is a big thing is no sick kids in the nurseries. I know that sounds very, like we should all know that, but what I mean by sickness is if your child has had a fever, runny nose, vomiting, diarrhea in the last 24 hours, don't bring them. That means a full 24 hours free of it. So if they get sick Saturday night at 6 p.m., they're not free until 6 p.m. on Sunday evening, which means they miss all of church the next day. And that means fever-free without medicine. So if you've given Motrin or Tylenol, and that's the only way your child's fever is coming back, and it's coming back within 3 to 4 hours, that means they are not ready to come back into the nursery. That means they're still carrying the virus or the bacteria at that point, and then they're still liable to get other people sick. Other thing with vomiting and diarrhea, it's very contagious among families. So if you have a child that you've been up holding all night long and they are throwing up, but you have not gotten it, you're probably going to get it. If you don't get it, you should be thanking God and moving on. But we don't want you to share those germs with everybody else. So we would much rather you last minute call us, call one of the supervisors, or do a emergency Gmail or the talk and get a substitute. It would be much better for the kids, it would be much better for you, and most of the time your kid wants you to be laying all over and all those other things at home. So just those are the 2 things. Remember, 24 hours, fever-free. If you have anybody vomiting or diarrhea in your house, you probably need to keep them at home. And this is probably going in a little bit more detail, but diarrhea actually holds it longer than anything else. So you really do need to have stopped having any and try to have a normal stool before you bring them back. It stays in there for like 14 days. Isn't that nice? So just say it's really gross, but it's true. So with that, when you come into the nurseries, we put in the hand sanitizers on the hallways. There's one outside every room, and there's one in the hallway coming into it. We'd love for all the workers and the parents to get used to just pumping and rubbing it in. You don't want your hands to stay wet. You want to do it for like 15 seconds, so don't just do it one time and then say you're done, because it doesn't actually work the same way. So rub it in a little bit longer, and then that would be, if you can get to soap and water, warm water and soap is the best thing, but if you can't, that's okay. We'll take the hand sanitizer. Let's see, if you enter the nursery, Jack says you're going to stay at work. So just know that if you're dropping off your kid and you decide to stay outside of the crawler or the infant side, we might put you to work after that. So our biggest reasons for changing this, the idea of the parents not coming in and trying to restrict it a little bit more, was safety. Those doors lead right out to the carport. We are hopefully getting a crash door in there soon, so it will be less for people won't actually even be able to walk in there, so that helps with security, but we can still go out. So security was one of them, sanitation, trying to keep as many dirty shoes off the floor as we possibly can. Kids are crawling, they're licking the floor sometimes. So we're trying to do as much as we can, but we know that there's going to be, it might not always work. So those are it. Let's see. So sanitation, like I said, try to wash your hands, whether using the pumps or soap and water. Diaper changes. This one's a little bit different than what we've probably been used to. We're asking everybody to use liners. If it is not your own child, we're asking you to use gloves. This is to protect yourself from anything that somebody else might have, but it's also that you're going from one kid to the next child. So if you use gloves, it's better protection to keep you from getting sick and keeping the kids from getting sick. If we do it for everybody, no child's going to care. You know, everybody's going to know that we're all doing it for every child. Wear your gloves. Then after you're done, you wipe down the area. There is, in each of the places where there's a diaper changing room, there's something to clean it with. So wipe that down. Then after a diaper change, most of the diaper changing stations are near a soap and water where you can actually wear it near a sink. It is much better after doing that. Take your gloves off. Wearing gloves does not mean that you should not wash your hands. You still need to wash your hands. So wash your hands with soap and water after a diaper change if preferable. The only room that's not going to be able to be done at is in the crawler room. There's not a sink in there. So we do have a hand sanitation pump right beside the diaper changing station, and we would like you to use that afterwards. If you feel like it was a really gross diaper, just excuse yourself and you can go and wash your hands in one of the other rooms or in the bathroom down the hallway, which is completely fine. We prefer women changing diapers. They're more used to it. I mean, most of the men are probably not going to say me, but if we can, we would prefer the women changing the diapers. Also, if they go into the toddler bathroom, it needs to be a woman taking boys or girls into the toddler bathroom. Hopefully the door maybe can stay cracked a little bit. All of these things are not done because we think there's ever been a problem, but we're just trying to keep the reputation and our protection of our kids up here so that when visitors come in, they realize that this is of primary importance to us. I hope and pray that there's never any issue beyond that, but those are our hopes at this point, is to keep it that way. So children obviously chew on everything, especially in the toddler nursery and the crawler nursery. They think it's fun to taste every single one of the pieces of every toy that's in there. So what we've done is sometimes you're crazy in there and you can't wash them right away. If you can't, then there's a bin that is labeled dirty toys and it's on thing. Just put your stuff in there so that the supervisor at the end knows that those need to be cleaned. The shift leader would actually ask someone to do it. If it's a soft plush toy, it can go in the hamper and will be washed with the laundry. If it's one of those hard toys, we'll use antibacterial soap and warm water and then dry it off with a paper towel and then put it away. So that will be the goal at the end. So if for some reason you can't do it beforehand, that's when you can do it. And then at the very end, you need to collect all the trash, and then we'll be doing, I think, a dry mop most of the times at the end of each service. So we'll have that, and then so someone usually needs to run a dry mop, and then the cleaning people are going to actually do our wet mopping at that point. And then if there's any vacuuming that needs to be done, any toys that need to be cleaned, and then be put away.
In case of emergencies, which we pray we never have, but we did have a fire drill in the recent past and tried to implement some things in the nursery for this. This is where the shift leader would be the go-to person. Would be a primary responsibility for them. They would have to be a take charge person. They're the ones that will have to act quickly, they will have to assign responsibilities and make sure that everything is carried out. The nursery worker in charge, the shift leader, gives the instructions. The children would all be put in pack and place, roll and pack and place, and this is a picture of the sleeping child room. All of the pack and plays in there right now are on wheels, so they can all be used. The goal would be to get pack and plays from that room into each of the other rooms, into the toddler room, roll it straight out. If you need one in the crawler room, the quickest way to get the children out is just to load them into the pack and plays and roll them out. Now, if you only have one or two children and you have adequate workers and you can pick them up, that's fine. But we need a standard, and the standard is going to be put them in the pack and plays. We learned from experience the first time, and it sounds very logical, but you just don't think in an emergency sometimes. Make sure that when you put the children in, you sit the children on the back edge over the wheels, because you're going to be lifting up the other end. They tend to tumble and roll backwards if you do it from the other way. And actually the children are sometimes they're a little upset when you stick them into a crib. They don't associate that necessarily with what they want to do, but the minute they start rolling, they're fine. The shift leader is responsible for taking the list and making sure, actually a person in each room, infant, crawler, toddler, should take your chart, which will be in the side, right inside your door where they're stuck. You will verify that each child that is in there is put into a pack and play and out of that room to verify that every child is out. You will close the door, pull it to as you go out. So it's the shift leader, this is where they are very important, that they make sure that every child and every worker is out of the nursery. The goal is to push them out the door that we normally do not exit. If for some reason that door is blocked, you would use the adjoining hallway, go out the parallel hallway over there, out that door. We will roll them to the back of the parking lot, to the white fence, white picket fence at the very end, and parents would come pick them up there. We do not say that parents cannot come to the nursery to get their child. But we hope that the parents would have trust in the workers to get the children out of the nursery. If a parent comes, they need to be willing to not only care for their child, but to follow the instructions of the leader in charge and help in any other way that they can to get the children out of the building quickly and orderly. So we do allow that, but we definitely say, grandparents, siblings, anyone else should not be coming to the nursery in the case of an emergency. We congregate at the rallying point and verify that all children are accounted for. Again, we're going to use that list, and we're going to make sure that every child is there. So if a parent picks up a child, whoever has that clipboard needs to have it written there that the parent got that child, so we can account for all of them when we do get out there.
Will you tell them where the rally point is?
Yes, at the picket fence at the back of the parking lot. And parents last time came and picked up, and it worked well to do that. One more thing on the fire, if for some reason we could not exit either of those two doors, the plan would be for a worker, you would raise the windows in the infant and toddler nursery. You could raise the windows there, a worker could go outside and could hand the babies out through the window. So that would be the plan, just so you would have an idea of what to do in case of emergency. If you go into a school classroom or a building, they always have it posted right by the door, you are here and exit here. We just want our workers to know what our plan is in the case of an emergency. Other than fire, if it's a threatening situation or security issue, close and lock all doors. Hopefully, very quickly, the doors at the end of the halls will be crash doors that actually exit to the outside. Right now, it's always supposed to be locked, the one on the nursery side, from the outside. Even though the deadbolt is undone, it is supposed to be locked on the bottom. The deacon of the month should be paged. Do not page 911, because if you page 911 on our nursery pager system, it will page every parent that has a pager, because every one of them's gonna vibrate. And we don't want that kind of mass confusion if there's a security issue. So there is a code, and we are actually going to be working with that will alert the deacons that there is a security issue. So the deacon would know not to come by himself, to bring someone else with him if there's a threatening situation. The workers should rally the children to a corner and shield them. If you are in the infant side or can get children into that bathroom, I know we don't think of it as the most clean place to be, but it's the safest place to be in an emergency situation, because there are no windows and you would have to go through multiple doors to access it. You would close the blinds and rally the children in a corner away from the window and doors, okay? If you are in the crawler room, you stay in the crawler room, make sure both doors in that room are locked, and pray for God's deliverance. We pray these situations never happen, but we just want you to have in your mind what you would do if that situation did arise.
Our goal with redoing the nursery was that we had the children in our hearts, and we were praying that we would come up with a way that we can minister to them more purposefully and not it be a babysitting hour. I know that some of you might feel like when you come, you have chaos for an hour and a half, and it is sometimes chaos for an hour and a half, and even with the structure, it's still probably going to have chaos for some point of it. But our goal was to try to start separating out the kids, to give more age-appropriate toys, to be able to have times where we could have spaces where you could read with them. Even if not all the children wanted to, there was a space that you could go to. There's a space to do imaginary play with the food. There's places with little people that kids like to bring out all of them and be able to do it, and sometimes it was really hard to do where everybody's trampling over and then they dump the blocks in the middle of it, and it's still crazy at times, but the goal is that we could actually minister to the children. One of our things is that whether it's our own children or whether it is a visitor, we have a time period that we can be another set of people influencing those children. I know for myself, it's exciting to me to know that my kids go to these places, that I trust the people that are working there, and to think that they would be teaching them and talking to them about God is huge. And I think about that when I think about my 2-year-old going to Janet Kristoff's Sunday school class. I never thought somebody could teach my kids the things that that woman can teach my kids. They come out saying catechisms that I didn't even know, I never even taught them. And so I think that there's things to say that we can plant these little seeds that we have no idea what's going to happen to them. And as workers, we get to do that to them. I know that most of us have children or have raised children, and it's exhausting. I know that. But we're going to try to make it so that it's a little bit more structured, a little bit more fun for them. In the next few months, we'll probably try to get some more things in place, that like CD players with CDs, like praise and worship music for some of the kids. We want to get Bible stories for each room that they would be able to, you'd be able to read and sit. Maybe not all the kids are going to sit, but you could sit for a while with them with a really good Bible book and be able to talk to them. One of the other things that we are trying to avoid is just going and just chatting with your fellow coworker. I am guilty of it because I love to talk, and most of you know that are in this room. So I know what it's like that you get to see that one person maybe once a month for an extended period of time, and you want to really talk with them. And the infant side, if you're holding a baby, most of the time you get to, so not everybody can't sign up for over there, but you do get to do it a little bit more. But on the other side, we'd love to see more people on the floor, engaging the kids, playing with them, letting them climb on you, maybe sitting around the table and playing imaginative play and be their little tea party partner. I mean, all these things are a possibility, and I know that it's tiring, but it's something that can be done. So we're just asking that you try to remember it. I'm not saying don't talk at all and avoid your friends, but try to think about the children and think about ways that you can actually engage them. Like I said, we're hoping we're going to have meetings once a year just to kind of review everything that's going on here. It'll be a lot shorter than this meeting, so don't worry. But I'm hoping that maybe we might have a notebook in each classroom that would give you ideas of things that you could do, how you could use the stuff that's there. One thing in the toddler room, we do want art supplies in there because kids that are 3 and 4 love to do that, or up to 4. The 3-year-old age like to color, maybe not for an extended period of time, but they do like to do it. If you get down the crayons or coloring books or paper, please stay with the children. One thing we don't want is to see, which I've seen, little boys just packing their pants with the crayons, and then they're like, so we don't really want it on the freshly painted walls at all. So if you are going to get off the crayons, just try to stay with them, and yes, stay with them. And then as you stay with them, just color with them, maybe give them something to color, like you could draw something for them to color in, you could help them tell a story while you're doing it, but then make sure that you kind of put everything back up. The reason that they're in the bins high is so that the kids can't reach them, and that only the adults or workers could get them for them. One thing that we're going to have to, behavioral issues, things that we've dealt with before, we do not want you yelling or raising your voice at the children. I know that's a no-duh, but sometimes it can be insane, and you just want it to stop, but we can't. So you can give instruction, you can give a stern discipline, like, do not do that, or, those kind of things, but do not yell at the kids. Try to stay calm, cool, collected, which is sometimes hard. But the other thing that we would say is, if it's a parent, most of the time a parent that has been a member, or at least my experience is then, they know what's going on with their kid. They know the issues that they're dealing with, and a lot of times they'll tell you, if you see my child hit so-and-so, or hit this way, or do this, please page me. Follow the parent's instructions. If that happens, they're trying to correct and help their child, and this would be a helpful situation for you to do that. A lot of times, we're hoping and praying that more visitors will come. We want people in this area to come to our church. Well, that means that we're going to get more behavioral issues, most likely, just like our own kids that maybe aren't being dealt with as regularly or as diligently. So if that's the case, we might have more issues. We do not ever want you to remove the child from the actual nursery area. So don't go walking down the hall with a visitor's child. The only exception to this is a member's child who the Whites have agreed that if Peter is crying and we have an extra worker, he loves to be outside. He will stop crying if he's outside. So if that's the case, we have verbal agreement from them that that is fine. So that is a member's child, and we can take them outside. Other than that, no child should be taken out of the nursery. So if you have a problem with a visitor child, you can page the supervisor or the deacon of the month. Jack had a really good point that sometimes kids act better if it's a man. So if you have a man in a different nursery and you can switch out with them to try to get them to come and talk to the child and calm them down, do that. If we don't have any men workers, page the deacon of the month, have them come back and try to see if they can talk to the child. Sometimes just a presence of something different. If they want goldfish all nursery long, let them have goldfish all nursery long. You're not their parent for that point in time, and there's not much you're going to do to fix their behavioral issue for an hour and a half. But you can help that parent learn about Jesus, and that's what we need. That's our goal. But if it comes to hitting, kicking, biting, spitting, call the parent immediately, okay? So those are the things that are kicking, hitting, biting, spitting, right?
Right.
Yeah, those would be the problems. So if those start happening, it becomes a danger issue, then you can call the parent. Other than that, try to get a man in there.
If the nursery worker is kicking, let me know.
Call the wife.
Any issues, comments, suggestions, anything, please feel free to come to me. Any of the nursery supervisors, Sherry, Alice, Sarah, Amy, they have my full confidence. They're doing a fantastic job. please come to them with any issues that you have. If you feel more comfortable coming to me, that's fine too. We just want to make sure that everything's dealt with properly and early. Keep short accounts with people. If you have something you're just not happy with, whether it's a fellow worker, it's a parent, it's a child issue, let's get that all resolved quickly and make things go smoothly. Let's see, did I give everything there? Oh yeah, all problems and complaints come to me. All of the good things come to the nursery supervisor. I'm the guy that takes all the bad stuff. We are going to do a mandatory meeting in January of every year. It's been a long time since we've held this training class, I mean years and years. So we want to do something better than that. So in January, be looking for some notices. We're going to have probably 30 minutes or less of just a brief review of some things, maybe new things that come up that we want to cover with you. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, something that we might not have covered in this session, but it's really important for us to discuss. We want to make sure that only the parents or only an adult or somebody carrying the pager picks up the child. Okay, we've had a number of situations where another child comes to pick up the child. So parents, don't let that happen, okay? And nursery workers, please be patient with them, but say, we're really going to have an adult pick up the child. Because they'll come, they'll get the child and run off, and not necessarily everybody was in agreement with that arrangement. So, and grandmas want to come and dote on the, grandmas, you got to stay away unless you have the pager and you're authorized to pick up the child, okay? So that's going to help all of the, that's a very tough thing to deal with when you're 16, 17, 18 years old and there is somebody older than you trying to do something that's going against the policy. You know, look for somebody else to help you out in that situation, okay? Don't cause a scene. If you think it's at least reasonable, go ahead and let the child go, and we'll deal with the situation later, okay? Sometimes those situations get very uncomfortable. We don't want you to have to deal with that. We'll take care of that, okay? And then the last thing that we wanted to talk about was after hours use of the nursery. We're trying to discourage it. Just anybody that wants to use the nursery uses the nursery because of all the work, all the dollars, all the efforts that have been put in to make the nursery what it is. For all the cleanliness factors and everything, we really want to keep the nursery utilized as a nursery. There are times, however, when it's appropriate, maybe a concert is going on and you want to use the nursery for that. My preference was to only have an adult in with the children. However, some people have convinced me that maybe allowing a teenager or a sibling, the oldest sibling, that is approved by the parent to take care of the children, that's going to be acceptable, but we really want it to be a responsible teenager, a responsible adult watching over the children. And all of the rules apply as well as cleaning up afterwards. We do not want to come and see the nursery messed up after somebody uses it. That will probably be a good reason for us not to allow people to use it in the future. So pass that message on to people who want to use the nursery after hours. We'd appreciate that very much. And I think that's everything. So thank you all very much. And